Hear me okay? I'd like to call the August 21, 2012 meeting of the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners to order. We have Vice Chair Stanley joining us by phone due to some illness. It's good to have you on the line, Vice Chair.
Proud to be here, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Just ear listening.
Good. All right. Well, we'll start off, as always, with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Next, we'll have an invocation by Commissioner Holly Jones.
Tonight, a few years ago, Chairman Gant gave us all a book called For Praying Out Loud, and I'm going to be utilizing one of those prayers for something different. But before I do, I did want to ask everybody to lift up our colleague, Commissioner Vice Chair Stanley, and we are glad he's with us via phone, and we want him to get back here and be physically with us as soon as possible to complete the work of this important board. And we're also wanted to hold up Jane, as we know that she's offering you a lot of care and love. So we're thinking about you, Bill. Please, everyone, if you would bow with me. This prayer is titled The Interdependent Web. Whenever life looks easy, know that it is more complex than it seems. The simplest, most profound pieces of art have exquisite planning. The melody line rises to the surface because it has been played out in the composer's mind, and the notes arranged and rearranged until all of the intricate connections are designed for clarity. We see the web, the end result, strung on the front porch in the morning sun. We did not see the tireless spinning and weaving through the night, the near miss of the bat's flight, or the casual brush with the cat's evening prowl along the rail. And what we think we see is much less than what lives in the depths. There is always more than what meets the eye. And so we ask for patience. When we would wish for anything to be clear, we ask for insight. When we can see no further than our own needs, we give forgiveness when others look into our lives and see no deeper than the surface of themselves reflected there. And we are humbled when we find we do little better and seek ourselves in others as well. In the quiet, we reach inward to that still place. And it's in God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Any good news? It's always good news. Okay. Next, we're going to vote on the agenda. There's a lot of good news out there. We don't have any specifics tonight, but there's always good news, and we live in a good county and a good place. All right. Next up, we're going to motion to follow the agenda, including adoption of the consent agenda as published.
So moved.
It's been a motion by Commissioner Peterson, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no. The agenda will be followed by a 5-0 vote. Proclamations. We have Soil and Water Conservation update. It's the 75th anniversary of the Soil and Water Conservation in North Carolina. And we have Jim and Gary going to tell us about that. And we want to present a proclamation to them. And Commissioner Jones, will you read? And sorry I didn't do that in the pre-session. I forgot about that one.
Okie dokie. So do we want to do the whole spiel down there?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and read it? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, ma'am.
Read it down
Yeah,
there?
either way. It's
Okay. So, all righty.
good.
Turn your mic on.
Caught me off guard.
Yeah.
That one. Okay. Whereas the first soil and water conservation district in the nation was established in North Carolina on August the 4th, 1937 in Anson County, my home county. And whereas there are now 96 soil and water conservation districts covering all of North Carolina, led by 492 elected and appointed citizens, and whereas the Buncombe County Soil and Water Conservation District was officially chartered on April 24th, 1951, focusing on developing conservation plans for farmers, and whereas today, with the conservation of farmland to urban uses, the district works to solve the natural resource problems caused by the development, highway construction, shopping centers, and residential development, as well as administer state programs including the North Carolina Agricultural Cost Share Program, the Community Conservation Assistance Program, and the Agricultural Water Resources Assistance Program. And whereas environmental education is also a vital function of the district and includes conservation contests, field days, exhibits, and presentations for schools and other groups. And whereas to celebrate the 75th year of soil and water conservation in North Carolina, this board feels it appropriate to declare August as Soil and Water Conservation Awareness Month in Buncombe County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners for the County of Buncombe as follows: that the month of August 2012 be proclaimed Soil and Water Conservation Awareness Month in Buncombe County. That this board does hereby thank the past and present employees and volunteers that work with the soil and conservation in Buncombe County for protecting and conserving our natural resources and for their efforts to increase environmental education. Chairman Gant, I would move that we accept this proclamation today.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion by Commissioner Jones, a second by Commissioner Bailey. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And we also have the chairman and director of the Soil and Water Conservation, Jim Coleman and Gary Higgins. Gentlemen, would you like to go to the podium and tell us a little bit about your organization? And Commissioner Stanley, you still there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good, good.
Good group, good group.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Jim Coleman. I'm the chairman of the Board of Supervisors of the Soil and Water Conservation District. And I'd like to introduce a few people who are here today. Maria Wise is our staff to the Farmland Preservation effort. Chase Hubbard here is one of my fellow supervisors and the manager of the Warren Wilson Farm. And of course, Gary Higgins is the director of Soil and Water Conservation District, and he's going to tell you a little bit about our program.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I do have a little PowerPoint presentation, and Judy, if you could start that. We're very proud of being part of probably one of the largest environmental movements in the United States. This month, we're celebrating 75 years of soil and water conservation in North Carolina, and which started in 1937, as Commissioner said. But there are currently about 3,000 soil and water conservation districts in the nation. And every one of those districts have boards and are led by local citizens. So it's a very large and important environmental movement. And before I get started, actually with the PowerPoint, I would like to thank the county commissioners for all the support that they've given our programs over the years. Anytime we've needed anything from the county and the county commissioners, you've been there to support us, and we appreciate that. To give you a little bit of background, I don't want to bore you with history, but I'll try to back this thing up. The 1920s and 30s, and even before that, was quite a bit of devastation across the entire United States as far as our soil and water resources. In the Midwest, it was the Dust Bowl during the Depression era. In the Southeast, it was tremendous gully erosion because of the land ethic that was being used at the time and the lack of a scientific understanding of soil and water conservation. So there was a lot of early efforts to kind of correct that, starting out with, this thing keeps jumping twice, but starting out with best management practice demonstrations, terracing programs, and of course the Civilian Conservation Corps did a lot of that back in the early days. One of the early leaders in the soil and water conservation movement was a fellow by the name of Hugh Hammond Bennett, who was a native of Anson County. He was a graduate of University of North Carolina, worked for the Bureau of Soils and was a soil scientist, worked in every state in the nation. And during his work, he began to notice the depletion of the soil resource, which he called a national menace. And at the time, he was one of the few people that recognized the problem that presented, because a lot of people thought that soil was an inexhaustible resource at the time. He was a real leader. He recognized the importance of not only the gully erosion, but the sheet and reel erosion that slowly eroded away our farmlands. With the Soil Erosion Service, they did, and the Soil Conservation Service as well. He helped form both of those. And they did initially did a lot of demonstration projects and that sort of thing, both for federal agencies, and all of those were very effective in getting the job done, but it just wasn't on as broad a scale as he wanted to see get done. So he came up with the idea of local soil and water conservation districts, which are led by local board and staff, and today we call that locally led conservation. And our board and boards all across the nation are a lot of times farmers and citizens in the neighborhood that know what's going on in their communities and know how to relate to the people in their communities and know how to get conservation on the ground, as we say. Soil and water conservation districts were initially a bridge between federal programs and the local communities, and they dealt with small manageable areas at the county level and dealt with private and public lands, and have always and still continue to be voluntary in nature, incentive-based programs. We try to stay away from regulation as much as we can. In 1937, with the leadership of President Roosevelt, enabling legislation, a template was developed and sent out to all the states, and states began to adopt their own legislation. North Carolina, with General Statute 139, adopted theirs early on. So the first Soil and Water Conservation District was indeed formed along Brown Creek as the Brown Creek Soil and Water Conservation District, and eventually took in a number of other counties, but today is just Anson County. So we're very proud in North Carolina to have the first Soil and Water Conservation District in the nation. Buncombe County Soil and Water was chartered in April 1951. Priorities over the years have evolved. Initially, the emphasis was almost totally on agriculture, and a lot of tremendous amount of work was done during the 40s and 50s. Even before the Soil and Water District was chartered, a lot of work was done, but in the 50s and 60s, you'd just be amazed to see the number of conservation plans that were done and the work that was done during that period. Over the years, we've evolved more to take in a lot more of the urban conservation concerns in addition to agriculture. We work in what we call the North Carolina Conservation Partnership, and soil and water conservation districts are at the core of that partnership. We work very closely, and I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can see the little green, blue, and red lines there. That sort of defines the relationships that we have with each of those agencies. Some of them are by statute, some of them are by agreements, and some of them are just relationships that we've developed over the years. Very strong relationships with the USDA, Natural Resources Conservation Service, Soil and Water Conservation Commission, and the Division of Soil and Water Conservation. And this partnership helps us all to work together to bring a lot of expertise to our local citizens. If we have a conservation need in the county, then we are able to go to, say, the Division of Soil and Water Conservation and say, I need a forester, I need an engineer out there, and they're actually staffed to the local Soil and Water Conservation District. So that partnership enables us to bring in a lot of resources to the county. Our Soil and Water Conservation Board, you've met two of our board members today. The other board members are Lynn Bonham, our secretary, Elise Israel, our treasurer, David Snelson is another member. One of the one of the fundamental precepts of the Conservation District is conservation planning, which is simply a 3-phase, 9-step process that we can implement either on farmlands, on public lands, private lands, on any type of land unit. And it's based on land capability. We utilize the available resource data to arrive at science-based solutions to solve resource problems. So that's always been a foundation for soil and water conservation districts. One of the things that we do, one of the ways that we deliver services is through what we call technical assistance, which can be just, as consultations is one of those things. A consultation can be, a visit, just a 1-hour visit to a piece of property to give advice on soil erosion and water quality. Most of our programs deal with those two issues, soil erosion and water quality. Of course, we do conservation plans. That's part of technical assistance that we talked about a minute ago. We do engineering surveys and designs, partnership, and we have the partnership with engineers, agronomists, foresters, and so on and so forth. So that there's very few needs as far as if they're related to soil and water in Buncombe County. There's very few needs that we can't meet through the Soil and Water Conservation District. Environmental education is something that we very strongly are involved in. We do a lot of presentations in schools. Renee Ray is our education coordinator. She is in a training session dealing with conservation planning in Crossnorth today, so she couldn't make it. But we have an Envirothon competition, which is in middle schools and high schools, where you have 7-member teams that compete against other teams in studying environmental issues. And of course, we have conservation contests, such as our poster and essay contest, and those are conducted on several levels, most of them in grade school levels. We have environmental education field days out at Warren Wilson College, four days a year, and each day we pull in about 200 students and have 8 stations and teach them all about soil and water and natural resources on the farm and in the urban environment. We also have events such as the Mountain State Fair. We've got an exhibit that'll be out there starting September the 7th. Of course, internet and local media, Buncombe County is a real big help in getting our message out on the county website. And we do a lot of project tours as well. You can see some pictures of those there. Another way that we deliver services is through cost-sharing programs. And by cost-sharing, generally it's a 75% cost share, where we work with a landowner and develop a conservation plan on their farm. And for each BMP, a best management practice they implement, the state or the federal government will pay 75%. Some of those programs, one is the agricultural cost share program, which works on farms. A newer program is the Community Conservation Assistance Program, which works in the urban environment, doing things like rain gardens and cisterns and stormwater wetlands and that kind of thing. And one that's very new is the Agricultural Water Resources Assistance Program, which the goal of that program is to improve the agricultural water resources of the state. We have this year, construction should be starting. The engineering's done on it. The designs are done. The one and only pond that was funded in the western end of the state is going to be in Buncombe County. So we have another water supply pond on a vegetable operation in Sandy Mush.
Gary, are all these programs 75%, 25% match?
All of these are, yes. Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to live on a farm to benefit from these programs. If you have
some of them you do. If it's agricultural cost share program, you have to be actively engaged in farming. Ag water resources, actively engaged in farming. But the CCAP, the Community Conservation Assistance Program, that is not. That's in the urban environment. So
okay.
A homeowner, government, we've done projects on government lands and on private lands as well. So we have something to offer just about everyone.
It's great.
Yeah.
I didn't know about those. That's wonderful.
And we've pulled in quite a few grants. One of our big projects that we've worked on for a number of years since the mid-90s was the Newfound Creek Watershed project, which was a water quality project. I think we pulled in about $2 million since about 1996. That's gone toward that program. That's mostly federal grants, and that paid for a lot of the cost sharing in that project. And of course, we do farmland preservation as well. By ordinance, we assist the Agricultural Advisory Board, giving staff assistance to them as they carry out the Voluntary Ag Districts program and now the Enhanced Voluntary Ag Districts program. And we also, and Maria's done a lot of this, is a lot of workshops, a lot of education, and a lot of outreach to citizens on that. And that's one of the programs that we're very, very proud of.
How is the enhanced voluntary? I know we approved that, seems like the last couple of years. Is that we having many folks participating in that? I think you can't back out of that one if I remember right, or some, is that?
And we do have 2 so far who have enrolled.
Go ahead. Maybe if you could tell people a little bit about that,
Sure.
the
David.
difference between the enhanced and just regular one we had.
Okay, yeah. So the Enhanced Voluntary Ag Program, that involves a 90% cost share on those projects. And what you do to be involved in that is you agree not to develop your land for 10 years. And whereas the Voluntary Ag District, you can just say that you'd like to get out of the program, and that's fine. But with the Enhanced, it's a little more strict, and you really are tied to that for 10 years. But then there are those benefits like that added cost share.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, that just started this within the past year, so I think that's going to gain in popularity, particularly as people see the the 90% cost share. That's a real benefit for that. So I guess we can get back to there we go. Conservation easements. Buncombe County Soil and Water and Buncombe County have actually worked with 8 conservation easements, but since Maria came on board, there's been 6 of them that we've been working on. 4 are 100% donation of the conservation easement value, and 2 are partial donations, bargain sales. The total is 983 acres. The value of those conservation easements, according to appraisals, is $5.5 million. The estimated county cost on those 983 acres is $278,190. We have obtained grants, $1,085,000 in grants to help pay for that. I think we just got the contracts and started executing those today on $600,000. Is that right, Maria? $600,000 in grants for a large conservation easement in Leicester. And the value of those donations is $4.1 million. So we're real proud of that, and we feel like that's a real good, efficient way. And we're very thankful for those people in the county who are willing to donate their conservation easements or do a bargain sale. That really saves a lot of money and gets a lot of acres in the program. Another area that we help with, and we've done 3 of these since I've been associated with the Soil and Water Conservation District, and you may remember in 2004, 2005, the county commissioners helped us with coming up with matching funds for the flood damages that resulted from the 2004 floods. We've had floods in 77, 82. 82 was pretty much a localized Leicester flood, and in 2004. In 2004, we evaluated about 230 sites and repaired about 190 of those. Total project cost on that was about $7.1 million, and there were some really devastated areas of the county, and we were able to help out with that. And those funds for that a lot of those funds come from USDA. They're, again, people that we partner with. And
so if someone has flood damage, they would just contact you, and you'd give them the criteria or rules for getting that. And I'm sure you have certain thresholds you have to meet.
Usually in those major floods, USDA has to declare, they have to make a certain declaration, and I don't remember exactly what that is, but they have to make their funds available first.
Do you feel like there's a lot of participation, or do we get most people that really do have legitimate flood damage, or we still miss a lot of people?
I would say in 2004, the most recent ones, I'd say we probably got most of them. There were just a handful that came to us later in some remote sites and said, we didn't hear about the program. And in that flood, we actually did a lot of surveys ourselves and actually went out. And we actually had some people that went out and actually walked some remote streams to find the damage.
Okay, good.
There's some great pictures of you, if I remember, up to your eyeballs.
Yeah. 2007, 2008, we had a major drought. The state appropriated $47,000 of cost share funds through the through Buncombe Soil and Water Conservation District and districts across the state to do pasture renovation, pond repair, and new ponds and drill new wells. And we also worked very closely with Cooperative Extension to have hay delivered here from Texas and eastern North Carolina. So they found the hay and arranged to have it shipped here, and we administered all the payments and all that. So we brought in about 220 tons of corn stover from the eastern part of the state and about 240 tons of hay from out west. So we also provide regulatory support to the Buncombe County Erosion Control Ordinance and the Stormwater Ordinance. We review those plans in our office. They're not approved in our office, but they come through our office for us to look at. We also do environmental impact reviews, particularly for the city of Asheville. We also provide technical support to the state's what we call the confined animal operations. That we don't enforce those regulations. Diener does that, but we do a lot of the technical assistance to those farmers that are doing that. So we write the waste utilization plans and do the engineering and provide cost share and all that when they have to install systems. And also, in a lot of instances with violations, Diener will call us and say, this is an agricultural operation, but they have a violation. Can you go help them? And same thing with erosion control here with the county. So. And sort of to end things out, we do have some things that we do sell a few things. We have a seedling sale once a year in February, March. We also have a no-till seed drill that we rent out to local farmers at a good price. And we also sell something we call fabric filter cloth, which is pretty expensive if you have to go buy it with a roll. So we buy a big roll and we sell it to farmers in small pieces. So, but I think that's it. Just there again, I want to thank everybody. And if you want to know more about numbers, I didn't go into a lot of numbers in this program. If you want to know more about numbers of things that we do, the last 3 of our annual reports are posted on our website, so you can go in and look at those annual reports. But we appreciate you letting us come tonight and talk to you a little bit about what we do in there. And again, we thank you for all the support you've been over the years. We really appreciate it.
Great.
Vice Chair Hubbard, do you have any comments? Thank you for coming today and thank you for your service. Well, thank you. You make a real difference. Sounds like it was very progressive back in the 30s, and then Commissioner Jones' home county leading the country there in Anson County to be the first one. Great program. Thank you, gentlemen and lady. Next up, we have old business, the county personnel ordinance.
Chairman Gant, since our last meeting, there's been significant additional legal opinion offered regarding adding sexual orientation and gender identity into our non-discrimination policy. And also we've heard from a lot of citizens and also our LGBT employees. So with that new information in our citizens in mind, I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules. They are, in fact, our rules. And reintroduce my amendment regarding the inclusion of sexual orientation and gender identity into our non-discrimination policy.
All right.
And Mr.
That's
Chairman.
A motion.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I
was just going to point out for the chair that as discussed in pre-sessions, that is provided for in our rules, and it would require a vote equal to the number of for a quorum, so it would be 3.
Okay. I certainly support your views and as I voted last time. I think unless there is a change in the vote patterns, I wouldn't support the suspend the rules because I think the result's the same. I think so. If there's a second, we will proceed with the motion. Any discussion of that? I certainly agree with the thrust of where you're going, and I hope that we continue to discuss it. But I don't see a change in the vote.
Yeah, I was just hoping for a change of heart based on all the information that had been supplied to us in the powerful stories that we've heard. But I understand.
Well, I have talked to each commissioner, and I don't.
Gotcha.
So Is there a second to the motion to suspend the rules? There's being no second, the motion dies for lack of second. Is there any discussion on the personnel policy?
So do we have discussion at this point? I wasn't.
Yes, ma'am. Any
Yes,
discussion
yes.
among our commissioners?
I think there's a lot of improvement in this personnel ordinance, and as I articulated prior, I think we're going in a good direction around some of the equity issues that have been of concern, and I'll look forward to working more with staff and the board to continue to follow that route. I do believe that it is important, if we are going to be an anchor institution in this community, if we're going to reflect our community and send a strong message about our intolerance to discrimination, and include it specifically in our ordinance. I've spoken to a lot of legal minds in the last 2 weeks, and it seems like a solid approach to take without exposure to our county that would be unnecessary. In the event that there were that very unlikely, unprecedented legal approach, I think it's worth the fight, and I would be supportive of fighting that. So. Sadly, that there's so much in this ordinance good, but I will not be supporting the personnel ordinance today because of the lack of that policy. I'd brought up this matter back in January to include sexual orientation and gender identity in our policies, and I know, Chairman Gant, you've been talking about this a lot with our leadership staff for probably close to a year, so I know for our citizens it might have been new, but it's a very important, I think it makes an important statement to our employees, important statement to our community, important statement to potential employers, and for that reason I can't support the personnel ordinance at this time. Maybe in the future I will be able to.
Well, I would agree, Commissioner Jones, that it is absolutely important for us to send a strong signal to everyone that we do not tolerate discrimination. What's before us now is the policy that we have. We did vote on that last week. You and I were on the short end of that, and I share your sentiments. I have likewise. I think all of us here abhor any type of discrimination. I think we may have a difference of opinion, and I'll let the others speak for themselves about their views, but I do think that we have a personnel policy, maybe not exactly one I would want for the same reasons Commissioner Jones has said, but nevertheless one that works toward equity. And I think there were some very legitimate questions raised about folks that had started and versus folks that had been here a long time about longevity. And I think this reduces that gap. I think it tweaks a lot of areas that give our employees more. And if there's one thing that all of this board, every single one of us won't see happen, is for our employees to be treated the best we can, because they do the best work and they work hard for everybody here in our county. And we need to make sure we keep them, we reward them, we make sure that we send the signal to them that they matter, and what they do every day on behalf of Buncombe County is of critical importance to us as the policy-making board. And I think this board's going to continue to do that. I think we have a great track record of doing that, and this policy moves us further on the road. Again, maybe not quite as far in one area as we would like, and I think we need to keep that on the front burner and continue to think about that. Any other comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Whether we add sexual orientation and gender identity or not, I feel that we must make clear tonight that we did not leave our GLBT employees unprotected, nor did we leave any other employees unprotected. This ordinance protects applicants and employees from harassment and discrimination at every level, from hire, compensation, promotion, working conditions, and dismissal. It is disingenuous and flat out wrong to continue to say there are no protections. These comments instill fear unnecessarily and distort what the current working conditions are. I would hope our commissioners would accurately represent the county's position so that our employees and our community have an accurate representation of the current situation. Thank you.
All right. Is there any other discussion?
Move adoption of the ordinance.
Second.
It's been a motion to adopt the county personnel ordinance as proposed for the second reading by Commissioner Bailey, a second by Commissioner Peterson. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
No.
The personnel policy is adopted by a 4-to-1 vote. Commissioner Jones against. New business, we have Pisgah View project. We have Angie Pittman here to give us a report on our project and what's going on. Angie, thank you.
Chairman, thank you. Commissioners and County Manager, thank you for this time to share with you about this very exciting initiative in our Health and Human Services Department. As you will hear, this initiative indeed crosses all of those domains in our Health and Human Services and also includes many, many community partners. We are all working together in the Pisgah View community to help promote the success in partnership with that community. You will hear in Rashida McDaniel's presentation that this initiative directly impacts the core services and outcomes for which we are responsible in local government. Rashida McDaniels, if she can make her way up here, is the leader of this initiative and has an amazing team that's also committed to this project, and she will introduce them. But what I have to say about Rashida is, and you'll see this in her presentation, she brings such passion for this work, and really, when you hear her story tonight, you'll hear that passion. Her grandmother instilled this early on when she was a young child, and really challenged Rashida to give back to her community. And so that's what you're going to hear about tonight. Maybe we should have been under good news, because this is, in fact, great news and a great collaboration. So, Rashida McDaniels.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys allowing me to speak today about this exciting initiative. I'm very passionate about this work, and I also want to thank Chairman Gant for your wonderful donation to People Valuing Advancement. Judy, if we can get started on our PowerPoint. Let me go back. People Valuing Advancement, and PVA stands for Pisgah View Apartments, and we decided to use that acronym as People Valuing Advancement. People Valuing Advancement, our mission states to empower people to be self-sufficient and develop a united community by reaching out to people and honoring their experience in a holistic approach to enhance safety and well-being. Well, those words are greatly put together, but what that really means is that we're here to help people. We want to serve the people. We're just out there to help. We want people's life to change. My committee members, and some are here today. We have Amy Sanook, who's the supervisor at DSS. We have Catherine Stracata with Families Together, which is North Carolina Mentor Now. We have Keenan Lake with DSS with Take a Village. Myself, Tadera Bailey with Take a Village, and Zakiya Bell Rogers with Buncombe County DSS. Why did we choose Pisgah View? And it's kind of really a neat story. My birthday was last year in October. And me and a couple of my girlfriends got together, and we kind of had this little bit of argument of what our responsibility is to get to the community. So I was challenged to make those differences and say, well, Rashida, what are you going to do? So I said, well, let's make some changes. I was a little nervous, and my friend Catherine said, well, why don't we start in Pisgah View? And at that time, we had a child fatality, and that was hard to hear. And when I went out to Pisgah View, I was a little nervous. I'm from DSS. You know, people are like, why are you coming to my community? And I wanted to change that, because what through talking to families, I had at least 5 people to say, I knew that child was being beaten. I knew that mom was going through domestic violence. So I said, well, why didn't you say something? It's our responsibility to report that information. So I decided we have to do something. And that's why we chose Pisgah View. We also chose Pisgah View because we want to serve an underserved community. The group of people that I'm working with have such a passion to give back to the community, and we really do believe it's our responsibility to give back. From January the 2nd, 2009 to December 2011, we had 146 cases in Pisgah View. 27 of those cases were services needed. 7 cases, kids were substantiated for neglect. 3 were substantiated for abuse and neglect, and 1 for abuse. That means that's just too many. That means someone needs to be out there helping out. We did a huge survey, and we ended up surveying 81 families in Pisgah View. And we used these domains. We talked about safety, well-being, economics, community resources, education, employment, and connecting with others. But through those surveys, we found out that it was a lot of people that experienced domestic violence. Some people didn't feel safe in their own community. You have parents that want their kids to go to college. You want parents that need jobs. And we have a lot of single fathers caring for their kids in that community. And we just have to do more. Some of our short-term goals is to increase collaboration with community partners. We're currently working with MAHEC, and I'll talk more about that later. We're working with the BIPA, Mission Hospital. We want to increase the level of trust with the residents in Pisgah View. Through the surveys, a lot of people talked about services coming into a community and leaving. And I have assured them I'm going to try my best to provide them services throughout the years. I don't want to ever leave. I want to always be a support to this community, all communities in Buncombe County. We want to deter verbal and physical altercations. It's a lot of females and adolescents disputing in Pisgah View, and we want to help young ladies to be able to solve their problems without physical fighting, and we can talk more about that through our girls group that we've started. We want to see an improvement in academic success in all school-age kids. We want to reduce the stereotypes and barriers to services. It's okay if you need a mental health, if you're depressed and you want to ask for services. A lot of people are like, well, I'm kind of scared of my family. If you're having issues, you shouldn't share it with anyone. So we want to change that. We want to increase the residents' engagement being involved in the community. It's their community. They should want to give back to their community, and we want to help change that. We want to make access awareness to improve mental and physical health, and that's through Families Together. It's through Buncombe County Health Services. And we want to increase child care activities. My overall long-term goals, and these are very important, is for us to reduce child abuse and neglect. We want to increase the reporting of child abuse. Like I explained in that situation, you had so many people to say, I knew that child was being beaten, or I knew that mom was being abused, but you didn't say anything. And it's our responsibility to say, and it's okay. I want people to feel safe and know that information is confidential and it's okay to report to us. We want to enhance natural support. So we don't want to be involved in everyone's life, especially DSS. We want to help them build on their natural support. So if something's going on, we want to give them the encouragement to talk to their grandmother, family members, and see how they can solve those problems. We want to do prevention of child abuse and neglect and early intervention. And we also want to increase positive health conditions. When we went out there, our program is a bit different because I have to brag on my team. We were out there in December, 30 degrees below, and we were just out there going to the households and getting to know our families. We want to build every opportunity to build trust with the residents of Pisgah View. We want to have, if they have economic issues, we have a worker that's out there. If they want to apply for food stamps, Medicaid, recertify, we have someone out there every Thursday from 9 to 1. We want to build those collaboration continuously throughout this process. We want to be supportive of other agencies and activities in Pisgah View. I Have a Dream, Children First is there, and we certainly want to continue to support them. We want to build relationships with the residents. We're out there in the homes. If they say, Rashida, you know, I need a couch, I get the couch. I need WIC, I help provide that service. If it's a need, I try to provide that service as well as my team. We want to sign kids up for after-school programs or any programs, because I think it's very important that we get kids really involved, so they're just not sitting at home doing anything, and that'll be an opportunity for them to get into something they're not supposed to be doing. And in the future, we're going to be able to provide care packages, basically. So the next person I want to talk about is Keenan Lake, and it's My Daddy Taught Me That. And some of this initiative, we decided to have a boys group and a girls group to improve the academic success with kids through the school system, and especially the ones who live in Pisgah View. And I have Keenan Lake to talk more about that.
Well, hello everybody. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Great. Thank you.
Well, first of all, like Rashida said, you know, we want to take this time to thank you guys and thank Mandy and thank Angie for allowing us to do what we do. You know, we're all social workers by trade, but we really enjoy our jobs, and we enjoy giving back and making sure that we're able to help. One of the parts that I play in PVA, People, Value, and Advancement, is I actually started a men's development program in PVA. The group is actually based on a book that I wrote. The title of the book is called My Daddy Taught Me That, and it's actually geared towards my father, who was Benny Lake, who did a lot for this community. He worked for 30 years at the Juvenile Center, Evaluation Center, and actually just did a lot, but he was the motivation in writing the book. Along with that,
he played a little basketball too.
He did play a little basketball, yes ma'am.
Yeah.
Along with that, the men's development group basically is a way to give back and also do what Rashida said, help enhance the community, but from a standpoint of men, and it's basically, instead of me reading those things, I'll just briefly tell you what the motivation is and what the purpose is behind the men's group. Basically, you know, we have a need, particularly with the area that we're focused on in the Pisgah View area. You know, a lot of young males are being lost. A lot of young males need more support. They need the help. So what I want to do is be able to try to give back by implementing a program where not only, you know, the educational component is there, but being able to be around positive, influential males, being able to have that outlet. Also by being able to create areas where they may not have an opportunity to do a certain event, a program. For example, weekend before last, I was able to take the group down to the Carolina Panthers game. So being able to provide them with activities, enhancing their worldly views, being able to give them an outlet, along with that male group discussion is what we want to do. And that pretty much sums it up. Again, I don't want to take much time, but you know what Mrs. McDaniel stated, we are a committed group and we really appreciate all the support and help. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Zakia Bell Rogers, and I will be speaking to you all about the girls group and some other things as well. We started a girls group, well, and because there is a lot of issues with the young ladies there. We want to prevent pregnancy. We want to end cycles. We want to say, hold on, there are better things out here than just your environment. Let's look beyond that. And they talked about girls fighting and things of that nature. However, the girl fight that I was in with Rashida helped us get this program. So we're gonna discuss effective girl fighting as well. But we want to give girls a sense of purpose, to let them know who they are and what they can become. You know, if you never see anything except where you are in that environment, you don't know how to dream properly. And that's what we want to do. We want to teach young ladies how to dream, because if you teach someone to dream, it's endless. Their possibilities are endless, and these girls, they have so much potential. And we also want to teach them how to connect with agencies and just, you know, find things on their own. Because when you educate someone, you know, they go out and they educate others. So that's what we want to do. We want to have that trickle-down effect. You know, you teach one, that person teaches two, those two teach four. So we want to actually create leaders with these young ladies. In our partnership and collaborations, we are collaborating with MAHEC, YWCA, Mission Hospital, and a BIPA Heart Initiative incentive. And the reason why we're also focusing on health as well, we also decided, you know what, we can't tell people, you know, they need to get healthy if we're not getting healthy with them. So we're actually having Zumba classes every other Tuesday at PVA. So they're not having to catch a bus and go here, go there. We're bringing things to them. The one thing about this that's so awesome is that we're not asking them to travel or do anything, because sometimes that's the hardest part, is getting there. So we're bringing it to them. Low sodium meals. We're teaching them how to decrease high levels of cholesterol and blood pressure. Because the thing is, when you feel better internally, it comes out. And therefore, you're able to serve your community better, and you're able to, you know, take better care of your family. So here are our partners: Mission Hospital, Asheville Housing Authority, Families Together, Asheville Humane Society, Camp Lighten Up, Heading in the Right Direction, YWCA, MAHEC, ABIPA, Goodwill, WIC Nutrition, Take a Village, and we're also starting a Girls on the Run program at PVA, which we were not able to add on to this. The one thing I like to say is that, you know, anybody can set up a program, but the difference that's about our program is that we didn't go in and say, we're going to give you this. We said, what do you want from us? What do you need from us? And that's what makes it so different. And that's what makes it, that's what's going to make it work, because we're listening to them and we're not telling them this is what you need. And we have passion for it. We have love for it, because the thing is, we want to see this community become a family. Pisgah View Apartments used to be a very thriving and loving community, but they've lost that sense. We want to see, like the saying says, it takes a village to raise a child. We want to see that village reconnect, and that is one of the reasons why we are truly dedicated to this program. Thank you.
So in closing, I just would like to thank you for your support. I take this real serious. I'm very passionate about my work, and I just want to be successful. And it just has been such a blessing, especially Jean Bell has been so open, and the Pisgah View management team has been great, as well as the managers at Buncombe County DSS. And I thank the commissioners for allowing us to speak about it today. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful program. Next up, we'll hear from our Finance Director, Donna Clark, about resolution and bonding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I certainly cannot follow that. What I have is not nearly as exciting, but it is good news. In 2002, we issued 39.5 variable rate general obligation bonds, and this is the only variable rate that we currently have in our portfolio, and we used it for construction of public schools and AB Tech. In order for my recommendation that I'll make later to make sense, let's review exactly what variable rate bonds actually mean. Variable rate bonds are also known as variable rate demand obligations, or VRDOs. It's a municipal security in which interest rates reset on a periodic basis. In our case, it's weekly. Holders are able to liquidate their security at the time the rates reset, so it's really a short-term investment for people. The annual average rate over the last 10 years has been as high as 3.55% to a current low of 0.25%. However, the interest rate on variable rate demand obligations is not the only carrying cost of having those bonds in your debt portfolio. You need a dealer. They're called a remarketing agent. So when the investor, when those bonds become due or they're tendered, then the remarketing agent is responsible for reselling to new investors. And there's a fee for that. And currently it's 7 basis points. Well, in order to ensure that those bonds can be resold, you need a liquidity facility, just in case the remarketing agent is not able to resell those bonds. This is a form, it can take the form of a letter of credit or a standby bond purchase agreement, and the average fee over the last 10 years has been 0.20% to 0.60%. So where are we today? Well, currently we are in the lowest interest rate environment in recent history. Remarketing fees and the high cost of the liquidity facility are consuming the savings that we're experiencing from the variable rate debt. Banks are aggressively chasing market share. They're offering rates lower than, I think this is an anomaly. I don't think this will happen again. But they're currently offering a rate lower than we can get in the public market. And for a term beyond what they have ever offered before, the remaining life of this debt is about 12 years. I've really never known banks to go beyond 10. So I recommend that we issue fixed rate bonds to pay off the $32.8 million variable rate bonds that are currently outstanding. By issuing fixed rate bonds to pay off the variable rate bonds, that's called refunding. So today I'm requesting your approval of 2 resolutions. The first resolution is a statement of fact. It simply sets the amount not to exceed $32.8 million, that we will seek the approval of the Local Government Commission. And the facts that you are attesting is that this financing is necessary to fix and lower our costs, that the amount is not excessive, that all of our debt policies are in compliance with law, that our budget and fiscal management practices are in compliance with law, that a property tax rate increase is not required, and that a financing team is in place. And that's the first resolution that I request your approval. The second one is the authorizing resolution stating that bonds will be issued for an not to exceed amount of $32.8 million, and that the sworn statement of debt has been provided to your clerk, Kathy Hughes, and it was before this meeting, so it can be inspected at any time. And unless you have any questions, that's all I have.
The fixed rate is, the fixed rate again is?
You're still in my thunder for the next meeting, but we have a proposal for 1.7%.
I move approval of the resolutions.
Okay. I'll second it, but I have to ask a couple quick questions. Just make sure I understand. So basically, there's additional costs to the variable, because you go shopping all the time and you get us good deals and you save us money hand over fist. So, and some of that money, some of the money, the savings is being lost because of these additional fees that are out there. So you're going to get us out of the variable market and we're going to go into the fixed market, but we're not going to hear the rate yet, but it's going to be really good. So the bottom line is, so does that mean we're out of the variable market shopping for a while, or do we have another set of bonds over here that we're still dealing with that maybe aren't as expensive? Or
at your last meeting, you approved a debt policy which does not take variable rate totally out of the mix. It's just not financially viable right now the way the market is. And what makes the variable rate so expensive? Not expensive. It's still a good rate, but what's making it more expensive now are the additional regulations on banks and the cost of the liquidity facility. When we first issued these bonds, our liquidity facility was 0.20, and we've paid as much as 0.60 in the recent years. So,
but we're basically clearing our portfolio of the variable and we're moving into the fixed.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And the hidden cost of the variable rates have just eaten up any benefit we got, which was the whole idea behind variable rates anyways, to have a lower cost up front, and then you...
And I still say it's a good deal. I just believe that the market's as low as we're going to see for municipal bonds at 1.70. I think that's phenomenal. I don't think I think that's as low as we're going to go. And when we start ticking back up, then I think at that point we've missed a grand opportunity to refund.
All righty, are there any other questions or comments? There's been a motion to adopt the statement of fact resolution by Commissioner Peterson, second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Next, I think you've asked for a resolution authorizing the loan. Is that our next step here?
I actually made the motion for both
For both.
Do
resolutions.
both of them. Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
It was
The
a
vote was
condensed
on,
motion.
vote was on both parts of the motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
That's fine, since both resolutions were before and available to you, and you made it by statement, so yes.
Thank
Okay,
you.
and just everyone reaffirm that everybody's good, do it that way, okay. All right. Next, we have board appointments. Any board appointments for Historic Resources Commission?
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Joanne Stevenson and David Carpenter.
Okay, Ms. Stevenson and Mr. Carpenter have been nominated. Any other nominations?
Mr. Chairman, I'll nominate Karen Meigs and Catherine Mitchell.
Okay. Karen Meigs and Catherine Mitchell have been nominated. Any other nominations? All right, why don't we call the roll here for this one?
Okay. Carol, you want to start?
Joanne Stevenson and David Carpenter.
I'll go Stevens and Meigs.
I'll go with Stevenson and Carpenter.
And looking over the composition of the board, we definitely need more female folks. So these were the only two people that I was aware of, and they're both very qualified. It would bring an African American to the board. So Meigs and Mitchell would be my two votes.
Okay, Vice Chair Stanley? Off the line, okay.
I've got, looks 2 for Meigs, 3 for Stevenson, so it looks like Karen Wallace Meigs and Joanne Stevenson got the most.
All right. And,
Meigs and Carpenter tied.
Right.
okay,
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it'll be between Meigs and Carpenter. You're tied on that one.
all right. Okay, we'll just do a straight up vote then. All in favor of, let's see, if it's tied, I guess it's gonna be tied again, huh? Wait a minute, that's not gonna work. Okay, so we'll just have to go back.
2 makes 4.
We'll have to wait till Vice Chair Stanley rejoins us next term then.
But Stevenson is on.
Yeah. we-
Stevenson was appointed then. All right, Joanne Stevenson is appointed, and we will have a second
I was
vote.
getting ready to switch my vote to Stevenson just to fix the log jam, because she seems super, she's a young woman, super qualified on paper. I just don't know her. But I was unclear why we went with Stevenson with the tie. How did that happen? Did you switch yours vote
No,
too?
the
No, I
tie
think she
was
got-
between
she got
the
the
other
vote.
two.
You got the
Oh,
vote.
Stevenson.
The
Oh, I'm
second-
sorry.
Yeah, the second position.
I'm sorry. I'm
That's all
just
right.
distracted about
That's
previous
all right.
agenda items. I
That's
apologize.
fine. Okay, so we will have a vote on the Historic Resource Commission, the second vacancy, in our next meeting. All right.
You know what? I'm happy to switch my vote to unjam the log jam. And I don't know Mr. Carpenter. There wasn't much on the resume. I appreciate Kathy going to the effort to get the recommendation. I apologize if I wasn't clear. I'm hopeful. I think recommendations from boards are awesome. And I'll just be clear in the future about wanting to interview. I just think it's great to know the people that are doing the service, and that's part of what I'd like to do. But to move things along and get the work going, I will switch my vote to Mr. Carpenter.
Okay, and with that vote, I guess Mr. Carpenter will be appointed. Okay. Thank you. Announcements. The next regular meeting of the commission will be September 4, beginning at 4:30. Commission meetings can be seen on BCTV Charter Cable Channel 2, ATT Uverse Channel 99, live on buncombecounty.org during the meetings, or online anytime at buncombecounty.org. Mr. Attorney, Mr. Freed, we do have some closed session business, I believe you indicated.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. 2 items under General Statute 143, 318, 11, 3, attorney-client privilege. One is a matter Sands versus Buncombe County, workers' comp case 2011-3 318352, and the other is a potential legal matter involving Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I anticipate no action other than direction.
All right, sir. Then next we'll have public comment. The official county of the business has concluded for this evening and will now hold public comment. The time limit for any comment is 3 minutes. If your time expires, you may leave any questions along with your name, address, phone number, or email with the county manager, and they will be answered. Board members are not expected to comment on matters before during public comment. Comments should be limited to subjects that are within the jurisdiction of the Buncombe County Commission or pertain to matters upon which we may act. Any individual speaking during public comment shall address the entire board, and any polling of board members is inappropriate. Persons addressing the commission are expected to observe the decorum of the chamber and be respectful of everyone in the room. Any person who willfully interrupts, disturbs, disrupts the session will be asked to leave the meeting, and the commission reserves the right to deny public address on any subject previously presented to our board. Public comment tonight. Yes, sir, front row. And Ms. Landis will have you next.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. I'm Gabe Dunsmith. I live in South Asheville. I've been involved for a couple years now with the cleanup of the CTS of Asheville Superfund site, and I really wanted to start off by thanking you guys for your vote to extend water lines to the community. It's going to go a long way to help a lot of people whose water supply is threatened in South Asheville. And but I'm here this afternoon to talk about hydraulic fracturing, or fracking, which was just legalized by the North Carolina General Assembly. And it would essentially create a whole group of CTS sites throughout the state if fracking is allowed to continue. So all residents of North Carolina and surely the world deserve clean water to drink, but fracking threatens the water supply of so many people. And hydraulic fracturing is a practice that pumps thousands of gallons of water, sand, and toxic chemicals into the ground to extract natural gas. And the drilling of fracking immediately puts people's water supply in danger because it allows methane, formerly contained in the ground, a free ride into aquifers. And when those toxic chemicals penetrate the water supply, you're left with thousands of pools of pollution and thousands of potential Superfund sites. So it would be great to try to prevent that in the first place. Though Western North Carolina may not have an underground supply of methane to rupture, Buncombe County would still undoubtedly feel the effects of fracking were it to occur in other parts of the state. Thousands of additional tanker trucks would move through Western North Carolina, causing increased air pollution and increasing the likelihood of a spill. Because fracking requires millions of gallons of water for each frac, hydrofracking would put a heavy strain on regional water supplies. And because of the threat that fracking poses to all North Carolinians, I'm here to encourage you to issue a memorandum condemning and urging the repeal of the fracking law, which is SB 820, and promoting renewable, non-extractive energy development in North Carolina. And I know you don't normally pass resolutions on those types of issues, but due to the massive threat to the public health that fracking poses, I would hope that you act swiftly to condemn fracking in North Carolina. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Benson. Ms. Landis, any other public comment after Reverend Landis? Mr. Rice will be next.
I am Reverend Lisa Landis, and it's really cool to hear about the good news, and then you hear something bad, and it's like, you know, the transition town that we have, the farmers markets that we have, it's like if people were left alone, they could pretty much take care of themselves. It seems like it's when our government comes in and tries to control us that we have these problems. And I don't know how many times I have stood in front of you and I had commented about the solar flares, and I don't know if anybody has noticed the problems lately in in our cable TV and glitches in our electric and things like that. And that's something that I'd like to question. Those of you who do follow the solar flares and the solar activity, and if it does affect the Earth's magnetic field, and if we do have a shutdown in our electronics, communications systems, things like that, and martial law is declared, what goes down in this town? You know, who's in charge? Are the people allowed to be self-sufficient who can be self-sufficient? Everything that's being put in place with the transition, is that going to be allowed to continue? You talk about selling the money. Or, I mean, I'm sorry, you know, selling the money, yeah, I keep getting those creative numbers mixed up sometimes. The water that is essential for our survival. You know, I have to question why you would even consider selling a water source that is essential for your survival too. You know, I mean, we have minimum wage, and then we have a living wage, and then we have a government wage. And I'm sorry, but unless you walk the shoes of certain people, you really can't understand. You really don't know. You're a little bit too far gone. So, you know, question, you know, with the earth changes, with the people that are displaced in massive numbers around the world, how are we going to treat them if we can't treat our homeless decent now? You know, I'm coming towards you, you know, in front of you as a leader, as a teacher, and say, you guys are the ones who are in charge. You guys are the ones who have to make a difference for the people, and that means listening to what the people are saying. You know, I still question about the numbers. Somehow the numbers always seem to be equal. And how do you do that? You know, how do you get those numbers so exact on either side? I'd still like to see the numbers. You know, there's things that are hidden. And it's the people who come forward and say, there's this information that's really important for you. And the BCTV is very important for the people, but it's the people's voices, it's the communication that brings the unity in the community. So even though you tell us things, you have to also listen to the people.
Thank you, Reverend Landis. Mr. Rice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. 3 items. Number one, on the fracking. If the fracking is related just to gas and municipal kinds of big things, I think you need to, as a county, make sure that you're looking at the county as private wells, because they have got fracking companies right now that does I've even seen them take dynamite and shake the wells to get more water, or try to get more water. So you've got this, it's been going on for years, and they're fracking companies right here. In fact, I work for some myself that does work of this nature. So I think this is a very hazardous situation regardless of what the state law is on the natural gas. Because there's a lot more little wells than there are big ones. So that's one. The other thing is mountain mobility. Mountain mobility, I found out that it cuts off at certain lines, and some of these family care homes are not getting mountain mobility out to those areas. Now, this is something I've been told by a very reliable source, that agency that works with people. And if you need any help further, I'll help you with that. That's the second thing. Third thing, Duke, and let's duke it out, all right? Duke Power and Progress Energy. I had a cable run to my house, and I found out that the cable company, when they came out, it took them 8 hours instead of maybe 1.5. They had to go through the trees. They had to clean up. They had to do some really grunt work to get through. The time it took would have been 1.5 hours, most likely. I called the power company and asked them if they would come and clean out the trees from their right-of-way that they got from my property up to my house. They said we no longer do that as of 9 months ago. So that's when the merger took place. And if I am confronted with this, how many more is confronted with it? Now, we're not talking about with just Progress Energy and Duke. We're talking about cable. We're talking about Bell South. We're talking about the people that use the utility lines. And whenever you have trees growing up into these lines, you're going to have bad things happen. Not only that, if we had an ice storm, and we're talking about 3 years ago, I had my property cleaned up and a new line brought in. So those trees have grown that much. So if we had an ice storm, you can only imagine what's going to happen. And I think there need to be some answers from Progress Energy and Duke around this question. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Any other public comment tonight? Yes, sir, Ms. Belcher.
Good evening, everybody. Joe Belcher from Candler. I'm here speaking as a citizen, and I've struggled with doing this this evening. I know it's the right thing to say and to do, and I want to make sure that you as a board understand that this is not directed at you as individuals. I want to be very clear about that. But there's a rally happening Sunday in Asheville, and I believe that it takes some courage to do the right thing and stand up for things that are against the values of the majority of this county. Simple statement that this does not represent the vision of our county or our commission. There's part of me that says you shouldn't stir it or you shouldn't talk about it anymore, but you must understand that strong family values build a strong foundation for a great vision for our children. This display of nudity, when shown a few weeks ago on WLOS, was blacked out when it showed last year's. Yet it can be, and that was after 11 o'clock, yet it can be shown in full view in the streets of our city and in our county. It does not reflect the values of this county, and I'm not saying that it at all that it reflects the values of this board. I think y'all know where my heart is on this. But I do believe that someone needs to stand up and say that this, and be strong and stand for decency and values for the majority of the county and the citizens of the county. This rally does not reflect the vision that we have for our children or reflect the values of this county. It does not reflect or add to our character. It does not improve our business. It does not attract dollars to the county, and I believe it runs off people that might show up or view it. This is not about liberty at all. It's about exposure. And I for one, and just about everybody I know is against it. And I think when things like that come up from time to time, we should have the courage to just say something, make a statement. And I believe that this board has courage. I do that. I believe that. I believe you have things in your past that have shaped your values. And I want to challenge all of us when we see something like that that does not reflect the values of this county nor the vision we have for the county, and does not publicize the county in a positive light, we should stand against it very peaceably, very politely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Belcher. Any other public comment tonight?
Move we go into closed session.
Motion for closed session by Commissioner Bailey, second by Commissioner Peterson. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion carries 4-0. Stanley off the line. Thank you.